You think promoters are too powerful?
No.
You don't?
No, I don't see they have any power.
Do you not think that fights get made and broken by promoters not being prepared
what
to
power
be
does he have?
facilitative?
If the fighter says no, what power does he have?
They have influence.
They have influence.
They have influence. Promoters have ripped off fighters. Tim Witherspoon was sent to the poorhouse
Do you turn
by
up
Don
to
King.
see the promoter or the fighter?
No, but I also know that the conduit to some of these fights and some of the opportunities is the promoter.
But that's down to the fighters allow himself to be robbed.
But with due respect, with the exception of perhaps someone like yourself who's as smart as paint.
I wish I was.
Hang on, you're as smart as paint. And with people like, there's not many fighters that are Mensa candidates, are there? Nicky Piper might have been the one guy that once upon a time was a professor. So you're in the hands of people that advise you. Footballers have football agents that steer them down the wrong path and get them into a situation where they're tied up in shit and the football agent's got a big bag of money out of it, whilst pretending to be in the best interest of the individual.
Talking shit.
So we're talking the same thing,
yes,
but perhaps coming at it from a different angle. So you don't think it's a Wild West. Bottom line is, you don't worry about the influence of promoters.
I got my eyes opened up the day the books got opened to me when Eddie dealt me the ownership model, which no other promoter in the world does.
His version of it.
It's called the ownership model. You own it. Everything you generate, you see. No promoter does that in the world right now, or has done before or since, Simon. No promoter. Eddie Hearn is the only promoter in the world, in the history of boxing, that has allowed the fighter to see his true worth.
Right,
that's not an opinion.
So you're PR for AJ, and now you're PR for Eddie. Let's ask you about your relationship.
On my kids' lives, and I wouldn't.
But hold on. How many relations? I'm not suggesting that you're right or wrong, but how many relationships, how many promoters have you had?
Simon, it's a fact. I've studied boxing all my life. That's all I know. And I know about the tangible, I know the ins and outs. I know I turned professional boxer. As an amateur boxer, I knew what people wanted to see. As an amateur boxer, having 2 amateur fights, I rendered someone unconscious, jumped on ropes and said, I am the best you will ever see. And I was doing, and that you can ask, people will tell you that I was doing things like that. Other fighters will know. Someone like a Paul Smith, someone like anyone who knows me, when I was an amateur boxer, I was doing things as a professional because my mindset was that in tune with, I know what people want, because all I've done is study this game and this business. And the more you study it, the more books you read, the more you know. And then when I've got to a stage where now I can start meeting these people, I've sat down with Don King, I've met Bob Adam, I was a personally close friend of Frank for many years. I've sat with Frank, I've sat in his box, the King box, whatever it is, at the Emirates. I've sat there and had dinner with him. We've chatted, we've talked about boxing for hours on the phone many, many years ago. We haven't spoke for over a decade now. And that friendship's long gone and sadly went away through no fault of my own. But I've sat with the likes of Barry Hearn, brilliant men, brilliant businessmen, amazing, clever individuals. That what I've just said to you about that ownership model, that's never existed before.
And that's why you never needed to sign a contract with Eddie, is it?
I don't need to bulk Eddie up. Eddie's a big boy. He doesn't need me to bull him up. All as I'm stating is facts. No fighter will ever see their true worth the way he shows you. No fighter, no, in the history of promoting. Do you really believe Don King would allow? Imagine.
No, but that's going from the sublime to the ridiculous, isn't it?
No, of course.
Don King was the archetype of buzzard, wasn't he?
Do you think Bob Adam would do that?
Probably not.
Do you think? Now these are the 2 great.
But these are evolvements. So you say to me, promote things can't change. Things will never because vested interest. Eddie Hearn's just shown you there's a different way of doing things.
He has,
and it brings loyalty and it brings a relationship with people that doesn't need contracts.
It doesn't always bring loyalty because not many have stayed loyal. Many have left him.
And that's true.
Because at the same time...
many have left him recently because of the change of direction that's going on with the fact that what suited Matchroom might not suit them.
People still left when he was at Sky. So it does happen. It's just a fact of
it's a fixation for people.
Please everyone.
It's a fixation for people because Eddie Hearn, for me, is the probably, debatably, arguably the best promoter in the world.
He's the brightest.
Well, that's a low bar. To be honest with you,
the brightest.
With due respect to Frank and due respect to everybody else, no one's solving too many puzzles in that area.
Frank come along in a time when the boxing cartel was around. Frank survived.
Frank did more than survive. He broke up the boxing cartel of Mickey Duff, Terry Lawless, and Jarvis Astaire and all that gang, and punched his way into it metaphorically and literally.
Survived being shot.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But Eddie Hearn, the showman, Eddie Hearn, the businessman, Eddie Hearn, your friend. How would you? My experiences of Eddie, I've known his dad. We were dealt with one another in football. I respect Barry. I don't particularly enjoy his company, and his son doesn't. And his son is an apple that doesn't fall too far from the tree, as far as I'm concerned. But as far as you're concerned,
when I first
dealt with him. So the showman, the businessman, the friend. Describe him to me.
When I first met him, I just come from a very damaged relationship with a promoter, severely damaged.
Yeah.
I didn't trust a single soul in the boxing world. I didn't necessarily like him. He knows this. I've told him. As time went on, never once did that man ask me to sign a contract. Now, I'm not stupid, because at the time, he probably didn't want me to sign a contract because he didn't want to be contractually obligated to have me on. So I'm not stupid and I'm not naive. But as time went on, I became a valuable commodity and I became an asset. And still, did that man ask me to sign a contract? No. I'm at the point of where I fulfill my wildest and child dreams at Goodison Park.